So let's take a look at a lot of the things that have happened yesterday and let's determine how useful or how valuable they are to us. You know how we do it on this channel. I am particularly tired of just talking. It appears as though our politicians know that we like talking. And some people actually just see talking as a means to probably get attention. But for us here on this channel, we want change, we want improvement. Contrary to what many people believe, that things cannot get better. Have you heard that before? Many people think that there's no hope for Nigeria. And they may have a reason to say that. But for us, for me particularly, I believe that there is hope for Nigeria. It's just that we have not diagnosed it correctly yet. And once we can diagnose it correctly, we will definitely get solutions. Because at the end of the day, nobody is just interested in fighting for the sake of fighting. We are all looking for how things will get better for everyone. All this talk about corruption, all the talk about marginalization, about the constitution being the problem of Nigeria, Islamization agenda, and all of that, all of them came up because of the misadministration or the misrule of our leaders. If things were going well, nobody will remember any of those things. So at the end of the day, it is not about just opposing any particular leader in question. We're not talking to just oppose Tinubu. No. We're talking because we want solutions for Nigerians and for Nigerians. Nigerians are suffering. This is well known to all of us, but obviously it's not known to the political class or the elite. They're not aware of the sufferings, or probably they are aware and they have prepared for it because they caused the sufferings of Nigerians. So I guess they are aware because that's the only way you can explain the push for this political class to acquire bulletproof vehicles. They are so much interested in acquiring bulletproof vehicles. And the only reason for acquiring such bulletproof vehicles is to shield themselves from any backlash that might occur as a result of their squandering of the people's resources, as a result of the effect of their corruption, which is actually poverty, unemployment, and hunger. When the people get so hungry, of course they will react. So I guess that they realize what they are doing, that they are deliberately keeping Nigerians poor and hungry and unemployed. They realize it. I think they do realize it. And as a result, their only solution is to shield themselves as much as possible, to protect themselves as much as possible from any possible backlash from the people. Yes, that's my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is, but that's my opinion. And I think I'm right. If you think I am not, let me know. Let's have a conversation. Because what we want is solutions. We have been talking. And like I would say repeatedly, and I will not get tired of saying it, they know that you and I, we like to talk. They know. And because they know, they give us different news cycles. They give us something to talk about. And like I said in another video, I think it was yesterday. Yes, yesterday or the day before yesterday. I said it and I made it clear that it would appear as though the news cycle that mainstream media gives to Nigerians are PR materials for these corrupt politicians. They intend to overload us, overload Nigerians with news overload that will only result in frustration, that will only result in disinterestedness of Nigerians to actually do what they need to do to set themselves free. The news has been weaponized. If you don't know it, please know it now. Because think about it. If the news has not been weaponized, why is it that no element of the main or the big stories of the day the big news item of the day, none of them actually deal with how to solve the problems of Nigeria. The news items, the big news items, they don't deal with that. We know that 140 million plus Nigerians are living in multidimensional poverty. We know this. We know that 66 million Nigerians are unemployed. We know that Nigerians are hungry. We know that Nigerians don't have jobs. Nigerians are suffering. The cost of living is increasing. Food inflation has skyrocketed. We know this. So the news that we should have, if the purpose of the mainstream media is developmental journalism, then the news that the Nigerian people should be getting should be what is going on at the Central Bank of Nigeria, that's the CBN, about the programs or the various interventions that they are having. Interventions like the Youth Entrepreneurship Development Program. We talked about it yesterday. Our investigations are still ongoing. And what we will do, in addition to exposing the corruption that is currently going on there, is we will expose and bring the information about this program to the public domain so that you, the average Nigerians, can access that program, because the money is our money. And because there's no information about it, what happens is that these corrupt politicians, they use this money, yes, according to the reports that we're getting, and we will soon verify it. They use this money to compensate their party supporters or party loyalists. And it's not even all of the party loyalists. It's a select few of the party loyalists. That's what they are doing with our resources. That's what they are doing with our combined commonwealth. So rather than the media giving us information about these things, about how we can harness and benefit from these programs, they focus on doing PR for politicians. Just check it. All the major news platforms, the mainstream media, check it. All of the main news or the news items they give out are PR materials for politicians. They are talking about, when they bring analysts to their channels, the analysts are talking about, they are doing PR really. They are not talking about the problem from the perspective of the Nigerian people and how the problems can be solved and lives made better for the Nigerian people. No, they are talking from the perspective of the politicians, because the politicians are on multiple sides based on their party affiliations. They are talking for the politicians either for or against based on their party affiliations. So if they're talking about ministerial nominations and ministerial screening by the Senate, then it's either they're talking about how a particular group of experts will tell you that, oh, the Senate is doing a great job. Another group of experts will tell you, or analysts will tell you that, no, they are not doing a good job. All of the discussions, whether for or against, how does that put food on the table for the hungry Nigerians that are in their hundreds of millions? It doesn't. So they bombard the Nigerian population with these useless news cycle and news articles. Meanwhile, the materials, the information that can actually change the lives of Nigerians are left unattended. I asked a question yesterday. I will ask it today again. How many of you know about the Central Bank of Nigeria's Youth Entrepreneurship Development Program, where they give out 3 million naira? They have 200 billion naira set out in that fund, and they are giving out 3 million naira each to any youth who is able to come up with business ideas, whether you already started the business or whether you are yet to start up. They are giving that grant to youths. The fund is there. The money is already in CBN. But Nigerians don't know anything about it. And that's why I asked the question that if you know about it, just tell us about it in the description. Give us your experience so that Nigerians can learn from it, and then we can actually also have data. But the majority of Nigerians don't know about it. And because Nigerians don't know about it, what these politicians now do with the funds is they get their people to go and get names from what somebody actually commented yesterday. They actually send their party loyalists, who happen to be young people, coincidentally, and it's sad. They send their people to go around and collect the BVNs of old people, collect phone numbers of old people who don't know, who cannot even understand simple English. They collect those BVNs and they give them small money. And even when they collect the BVNs and the phone numbers of even young people who understand, they make demands of such persons to the extent that they ask such people to give up to 50%. Some even ask the people to pay upfront before they put their names on the list. So what these corrupt politicians are doing with these funds at the CBN, funds like the SMEIS, which is the Small Medium Enterprises Investment Scheme, that's another 120 billion naira or so. The Youth Entrepreneurship Development Program, 200 billion. They have the Agri Credit Scheme, where they actually give 3 million, 100,000, and 10 million to groups of farmers to develop their farms, and for young persons or persons who want to go into farming to start their farms. These monies are just there. Nigerians don't know about it. And because of the ignorance of Nigerians about these programs, these politicians now go behind the scene. They draw up lists. They draw up lists of names, some fictitious, some nefariously acquired, and they use behind the scene channels, backdoor channels, to pay these monies. And the way these monies are paid, the monies are not even paid directly to the accounts. The monies are not paid directly to the accounts. And we will prove all of this. Shebi, yesterday or the day before yesterday, Festus Keyamo told the Senate before his eventual confirmation that the 52 billion public works project payment that was made across the 774 local governments in Nigeria were paid to Nigerians directly, that they had nothing to do with it. No problem. He even went on to make a bold claim that the information is there in the, or at the NDE, that's the National Directorate of Employment, which is under the Ministry of Labor and Productivity. And he says that everybody can access it, that is in a flash. Perhaps he thinks that Nigerians will not take him up on that, but we will take him up on that. We are working with the Royal Purple Bee Foundation. We have drawn up our letter and we will send it to the NDE. Let them give us this information. We want to see how many people, we want to see the list, first of all, and we want to see how they made the payments directly to these people. Because the information that we have right now is that because Nigerians are not aware, and this affects you, because Nigerians are not aware about these programs, about these funds, what the politicians do is they use their behind-the-scenes backdoor channels to draw up a list and send that list to the CBN, and the CBN pays the money to one big politician. In fact, the rumor now is that it is Folashade Tinubu. We are in the process of investigating and verifying this. It is Folashade Tinubu that is drawing up a list of persons, and she will now pass it to powerful persons at the CBN, and those persons will verify, would then make the payments to her, and then she will now disburse it as she likes to the persons. Our collective patrimony. This is what our politicians are doing with it. And Nigerians are not aware because the media is not doing their jobs. When Festus Keyamo made this statement on national TV during his screening, one would have expected that serious mainstream media channels would actually do their investigative journalism to get this information and get Nigerians aware. We would have expected that they do the same for all of these programs going on at the CBN. But do we get that? The answer is no. But not a problem. Thank God for social media platforms like YouTube. We will use it to free the people, because the people are just ignorant. And the politicians are weaponizing this ignorance. They are weaponizing it. And what they do to weaponize it is to give us rubbish news, to overload us. Check it. If you are a follower of news, I keep saying it. If you're a follower of news, you will discover, if you think about it, because many people don't think about it, you'll discover that really the only thing that you get from following Nigerians' news is headache. Headache. Migraine. If you think and follow Nigeria's news so much, you probably will have migraine. So to me, and I have said I will do a video about it, news in Nigeria, and indeed news in Africa, is a mind control tool, is a programming tool. They bombard you with useless news that will make you despair, that will make you conform and submit to the oppression of corrupt politicians. And the corrupt politicians are not the ones who are even responsible for this. It is the IMF and the World Bank. We will expose every of this one. We are determined to do it, because we will not have been put into slavery 1.0 in the generations of our fathers, put into slavery 2.0 in the generation of our fathers during colonization, and then in 2023 and beyond, we are still being enslaved in a more advanced way, and our leaders are so dumb to see it. Our leaders are still so dumb to see it. They think that they are smart, and this is a shame. Look at what happened yesterday with the visit of the NLC and TUC to Akpabio at the Senate in National Assembly. Look at the conversations they were having. It's part of the things we'll talk about. We'll go into it in details. But look at what happened. When they were talking, they think that Nigerians do not know the fraud about the fuel subsidy, and Akpabio is pretending to investigate, to get to the bottom of the whole fuel subsidy fraud thing. You're pretending to Nigerians that you will investigate as if you don't already know. And they do these things, they just think that Nigerians are so dumb. Yeah, a good percentage of Nigerians may be dumb, but there are very good numbers of Nigerians that are actually aware. And they're actually talking, but their information is not out there in the public domain yet. And we will push. And that's what we need to do. Let's stop following news cycles just to get views. Those of you out there that are doing independent journalism, that are on YouTube, that are on other social media platforms, please stop following the rubbish news cycle that these corrupt politicians are driving to control the narrative. It's a rubbish news cycle. And many people fall into this trap because they are looking for views or they're trying to make money. No. At the end of the day, whatever money is made will be insufficient to spend and deal with the problems of life, to pay the bills. But if we actually go about the news that will liberate Nigerians and solve the problems of Nigeria, even if it is small money you get, you'll be able to live a good life. That's why it is critical that we pursue news and information that will bring about the solutions to Nigeria's problem. I am personally tired of just talking. Because they know Nigerians like to talk. And of course, they know that Nigerians have short memory, short attention span. They know it. So what they do is give us rubbish news cycle every day or every 2 days or every 3 days. And after we talk, they'll give us another news cycle and we start talking about other things without solving the particular problem that the news was about. It's almost 2 weeks or getting to 3 weeks now that the DSS invaded the High Court in Lagos to desecrate the High Court, to impugn upon the rule of law about the separation of powers. They did that. We made noise. It went viral. People cashed in on the news cycle. But where are we today? Has the DSS done right by the Constitution? Has the DSS done right by Nigerians to do the right thing and respect the rule of law, to obey court orders, asking them to release Nnamdi Kanu, asking them to release Emefiele, asking them to release Bawa, asking them to release Sambo Dasuki, asking them to release El Zakzaki. Have they done right? No, they have not done right. Yet, nobody is talking about it anymore. That news cycle has come and what? And gone. They have given us ministerial list and ministerial nomination news cycle. We talk. They gave us a lot of drama about it here and there. Oh, security clearance or no security clearance. Oh, Akpabi or no. They give us news cycle. They gave us news cycle. Now they have confirmed them. That news cycle is going. Then they'll come around now with another news cycle. Oh, one governor is fighting with his deputy. Oh, another governor is has stated things that don't bring value to the average Nigerians on the street. No wonder many Nigerians are not following the news. You see them in Nollywood movies. You see them in music sector. You see them following sports, football, which are other tools of mind control. You see, the biggest problem of Nigeria is actually mind control. And the IMF and World Bank and the World Trade Organizations, they have perfected a system to use this mind control on Nigerians and indeed in Africans. Because they have realized one very, very important fact. Do you know the fact they have realized? And many people are still unaware of this fact. When they came during the slavery 1.0, they came with guns and forced us into slavery. They took the strongest men amongst us into slavery, to go to Europe, to go to America, to go to South America, to work in their plantain plantation, in their cotton plantation, to work there as slaves by force. When it came in slavery 2.0 during the colonization era from the 1940s, from the early 1900s, after they shared Africa at the Berlin Conference, when they came during slavery 2.0, they came with force again. They came with their guns, right? They came with force and they conquered us. Well, not conquered now. They dominated us and deceived us into taking them in. And then what happened? They forced us to give them their resources, to succumb. They started teaching us their language and doing all of those things. They used force. But now, after the Second World War, they no longer could use that force because the whole of Europe was destroyed and they did not have the power to use military force anymore. At that time, America had overtaken Europe as the world superpower, and they still have. So what they decided to do, particularly with the rise of the Bretton Woods institutions, what they decided to do, and it's based on what they have realized, which we don't know. What they realized is this. They realized that if you want to put a people in chains, don't force them. Just convince the people using mind control, convince the people that they are meant to be bound, and the people themselves will submit themselves to be bound. They realize that you can force the horse to the river, but you cannot force it to drink. So what you need to do is focus on the mind of the horse. If you can mind control the horse, then the horse will willingly go to the river and drink. And how do you mind control the horse? Make the horse hungry. Make the horse thirsty. And the horse will go to the river by himself and drink. So the mind control tool of the US-led West, using the Bretton Woods institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, the mind control tools are revolving around hunger, thirst, unemployment, poverty. They realized this and they are using it. And the weapons of Africa's mass destruction are mind control tools. There are about 7 of them. I'll do a separate video and elaborate so that Nigerians can know, so that we can see how they are how they are destroying Africa, how they are destroying Nigeria, how they have eaten up Nigeria. And once we know this, because it looks like it's a virus, the way their system operates, but it's not invincible. We can conquer it. For those of you who have given up on Nigeria, those of you who are saying that Nigeria cannot progress, I have news for you. If you understand the inner workings of their system that they have put in place, a system that I call the colonial virus disease, if you understand the inner workings of it, you will see hope for Nigeria. That is why I am dedicating my time to do what I'm doing now, so that you can see what I have seen, what I was shown, what was revealed to me. When you see it, I promise you, you will see that there is hope in Nigeria. You will see the weapons of mind control they are using on Nigerians to submit themselves voluntarily into slavery. Voluntarily. When you hear of the Japa syndrome today in Nigeria, it is because their mind control tools or weapons are working. Because now, they don't need to force us with guns anymore to submit ourselves to become slaves to them. We are doing it voluntarily. In fact, we are spending our own money to go and be slaves to these Europeans and the Americans. We are spending our own money because their mind control tools are working efficiently. I can never go and jackpot to the Americas or Europe. Never. If you're doing it, I don't judge you because you have not seen what I have seen. So what I am doing now is to open your eyes to see the inner workings of these US-led IMF or US-led Bretton Woods institutions, the IMF and the World Bank and the World Trade Organization. See their inner workings. When you see their inner workings and you see their most dangerous weapons and their structure of operation, you will see that there is hope in Nigeria, and you will see that we can actually defeat them. There was a time when Africa was colonizing Spain. So it's not like Africa. There was a time when the richest man in the world was in Africa, Mansour Musa. So it's not like we cannot do it. There was a time when the most advanced civilization in the world was in Africa, in Egypt. And you had the Ethiopian, you have the Nok culture, the Nok people in Nigeria. We had done it before. It's not like it cannot be done. It's just that their mind control tools, their programming weapons have worked so efficiently that we have forgotten who we are, that we are now voluntarily submitting ourselves to be slaves to them. Through the Japa syndrome. Through submitting ourselves, our politicians submitting themselves to their corruption schemes. Many people say corruption is the problem of Nigeria, but what they fail to realize is that corruption was created by the Bretton Woods institutions. Corruption was created by IMF, World Bank, World Trade Organization, the CIA. They were created. Corruption was created using the instrumentality of privatization, private corporations, and using the instrumentality of conflict that would necessitate aid. Aid was created to strengthen corruption. Corruption was created by the Bretton Woods institutions, by the US-led West. Corruption was created by them. And corruption is built on the greed of Africans, the greed of Nigerians. When you build that corruption on the greed, oh shit. All right. I'll continue this later. They built corruption on the greed of us. But let's even deal with this in a separate video. Right now, let's just focus on the rubbish news they are giving us for today. You see, there's a big problem with Tinubu's tax reform committee in Nigeria today. What is that big problem? Because Tinubu is all about tax. There's a problem with that. For you as a Nigerian, there's a problem with that, a big one. We'll look at that problem. Then you had the TUC and the NLC visit Akpabio. What is Akpabio telling them about fuel subsidy removal? Because it affects you. Remember, What we are doing here is look at the news and filter the rubbish out and look at the ones that concerns you, give you the right information so you can take the right decisions. There are things that you need to do. And of course, what are the implications of WTODG, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, her visit to Tinubu in Aso Rock Villa? There are implications for us as Nigerians. It has to do with this whole mind control thing and the system of corruption that you have put in place. It has to do with it. So we'll look at it. And then, of course, there's something that happened with the Niger coup. We hear now that France is releasing criminals to engage in counter coup. Now, is this their divide and conquer tactics? If it is, then there are things that we Africans must realize about the US-led West. We must realize, we must ask certain questions. Who caused the coup in the first place? We'll look at this. And then, is it true? Is it true what Labour Party Senator Ireti Kingibe said yesterday? That she cannot do much in the Senate. Is it true? What can Nigeria's senator and reps really do? And then, of course, there's this very important question. Who is worse? The state governors or federal government or president of Nigeria? Who is worse? And then, something fantastic or something surprising happened yesterday. And it led me to discover something very sad. That the sit at home, 2-week sit at home, is actually going on in the Southeast. And then I asked the question, what is the sit at home in the Southeast really about? So many questions about that. We'll dive in. And then we hear, of course, right now, National Association of Resident Doctors, the doctors are on strike. And if the doctors are on strike, guess who bears the brunt? Guess who suffers? It is not the corrupt politicians, because they never use our own health system in the first place. Where they do, what they do is they fly abroad for their medical care and medical treatment. So if the medical doctors are on strike, it is the people that suffer. So it's important for us to look at this. And we also hear that ASU will soon go on strike again. And it's also the people that suffer. So is there a permanent cure to this? Because all these solution, this rubber band or band-aid solution that has been applied, seem to be ineffective. So can there be a permanent cure? Of course, we believe that there is a permanent cure. These are the things we'll be looking at today. And before we go into the details of all of them, there's something I need us to realize. And I always ask this question. There is a conflict of interest problems with our politicians. I asked this question, I asked it before, I will ask it again. These resident doctors that are on strike, if Tinubu was getting his medical treatment from the general hospitals in Nigeria, if he's compelled to, if Akpabio gets his medical treatment from the general hospitals, do you think that the resident doctors will be on strike? Do you think that the resident doctors will be on strike? Of course not. They won't be on strike. This whole strike thing is happening because our politicians are able to get themselves, their family members, their rich friends, they are able to seek medical care abroad. The same thing with the ASU strike. They are able to do all of this because they have options. So we need to enact a law that bans them from going abroad for medical treatment. Yes? That compels them to use the same general hospital. In the America, they use the general hospitals. In UK, public officials use general hospitals. They use government hospitals. So why won't our government officials use government hospitals in Nigeria? Why won't they? We need to compel them by enacting a law, a prohibition law, a law that bans government officials from going abroad, that compels them to use our general hospitals. Once we enact that law, all these strike today, strike tomorrow, whether it's from ASU, whether it's from doctors, all these strike, they will stop. It is because of this conflict of interest, they are able to go abroad. That's why all of these problems are happening. All the infrastructure. The other day we heard that Godwin Obaseki's convoy got stuck in mud in a road in Edo State. And because of that, after that, he now said he's declaring emergency. Because he met face to face with the problem. So if our leaders are not made to meet face to face with Nigeria's problem, the problem of Nigeria will never be solved. It will never be solved. So for us to solve the problem of Nigeria, we need to ban our government officials, starting with our politicians and everybody that works in government. Compel them to use government hospitals, compel them and stop them or ban them from seeking medical treatment abroad. Once we enact this law, we are good to go. In addition to the fact that we also need to take care of the welfare of persons. I said it yesterday, 17% of the US budget goes to social welfare. You know, America is so hypocritical. They come and they shout about, oh, capitalism is the way to go, capitalism is the way to go, communism or socialism is bad. Meanwhile, no country is as socialist as America. Forget all this rubbish talk about America being a capitalist state. It is not. America is predominantly a socialist state. You can call it a mixed economy at the best. But to say that America is a capitalist state, I disagree. The Bretton Woods institutions only created something out of the American economy while still maintaining their socialist status, their social welfare program that gobs 17% of their annual budget, social welfare. They have subsidy on manufacturing in the agri sector. They have subsidy on manufacturing or exploration of crude oil in the oil and gas sector. They have subsidy on their healthcare sector, which is the Affordable Care Act, or what you call Obamacare. They have subsidies. That's socialist in nature. But they come and they lie to the rest of the world that socialism is bad, that what you need is capitalism. It's because they know that the only weapon they have to dissolve the sovereignties of other countries is capitalism through privatization, and we will expose how they do their privatization trick. Because forget it, majority of the different sectors, the big companies in Nigeria that are in the private sector, they are owned by American companies. If you don't know, the rumors are out there, and we'll verify. Once we verify, we'll put it out there. The rumors are out there that Dangote refineries is not even owned by Dangote. It is 70% owned by a consortium called the IIBDG. And it is made up of a group of Western companies. That is why they are pushing privatization, so they can use privatization to come and infiltrate other countries' economies in the name of foreign direct investment. And they are protected by the World Bank, the IMF, and the World Trade Organization through institutions like ECOWAS and BIT, bilateral investor and trade agreements. This is what they are doing. That's what they are doing. So if we are going to solve the problems of Nigeria, we must fix the welfare of the people in such a way that it is taken care of by government. We should not leave the welfare of the people to these corrupt politicians. That is how they weaponize poverty and hunger and illiteracy and unemployment. Because if a Tinubu, anytime he goes to Bodilon, people goes to his house and they collect rice, they collect money. When he's not in his office, in his house in Bodilon, what happens? They won't collect. So will the money and the rice and the food stuff they collect, the once in a while they go there, will it take them for 4 years? It won't. But meanwhile, Tinubu will now create this impression in people that he is helping people. And people will be saying, oh, Tinubu will give me money. How many people can Tinubu really give money? How many people can Tinubu give 10 million naira? How many people can Tinubu give 1 million naira? Can Tinubu give 20 million Nigerians 1 million? He cannot. But because the state is not in charge of the welfare of its citizens, individual politicians have hijacked that process, and they now pretend to be taking care of the welfare of the citizens. And then they have weaponized it to now be controlling those people to do their bidding. If we're going to stop all these things, such things like vote buying and all that, and bring credible people into the political system in Nigeria, we need to solve the welfare problems. And the only way to do it is to institutionalize it. The way it is a law in America, that is how it must be a law in Nigeria, that government must take care of certain people through a social welfare law. We need to enact that. So, dear Ireti Kinjibe, Senator, saying that there's nothing, you cannot change much. You actually can. You actually can change much. I like the way you spoke when you said, oh, the government should focus on using made in Nigerian cars. That's a starting point. Because even the made in Nigerian cars, as much as they will create jobs, we cannot maximize the potential of the job creation by only assembling cars. It's a good idea. But to maximize the opportunities in job creation in that sector, we need to industrialize aggressively, which means we need to turn our attention to making sure that we activate a healthy Ajaokuta steel and Alaja steel. Once we are able to do that, we'll solve our unemployment problem. We'll create 50 million jobs with a lot of high quality jobs in there. With a lot of high quality jobs in there. These are the things we need to look at. Now, Tinubu inaugurated a tax reform committee a few days ago. And many people are clapping for him like they usually do. He's sycophants. Mind you, not everybody you see praising Tinubu actually is happy with Tinubu, because they are all feeling the pinch of Tinubu's policies. Many of them will come out to lie publicly to you that give it time, with time it will get better. It will not get better. Even they themselves know that it will not get better. But so that whatever they are hoping to get from Tinubu will come true. Because Tinubu is just stringing them along. You know, the way you use rope to tie a ram and you use the rope to be drawing the ram across. That's what Tinubu is doing with all this promise. Oh, okay, fine. We'll give you out of the Youth Entrepreneurship Development Program Fund. There, we'll give you 3 million. And so he's using it to string people along. And because these so-called supporters of the APC or Tinubu are hoping to get those monies, they'll come out and they will not even be able to speak their mind. They will like to be sycophants, say what Tinubu will like. And that's why they will lie on national TV. They will lie to you publicly that, oh, the policies of Tinubu will bring good. We know it will not. The policies of Tinubu is geared towards consumption. Right now, what we need is production. That is why we are hoping that the judiciary will do the right thing. But that aside, Tinubu has inaugurated a tax reform committee. They even put a UI student in there. These people, they sure know how to fool Nigerians. And some people will be saying, oh, they put a UI student in there. And I'm like, okay, fine. So should the UI student stop schooling and come and do tax reforms? What's the sense in that? Is that something we're supposed to be clapping for? But let's even forget about that. This whole tax thing that Tinubu is talking about, there's a problem with it and you guys are not seeing it. Elsewhere in advanced countries, before they talk about tax, what they do is they create the enabling environment for businesses to grow. They create opportunities for businesses to create jobs and then grow the economy. It's after they have grown the economy that they now begin to tax the people. Because think about it, tax is actually supposed to be money you pay after you have earned revenue. But rather than Tinubu's administration focusing on creating jobs, creating and growing the economy, all they are doing is tax, like right, left, and center. Tax. And they are collecting no manner of tax. In case you don't know, let me say this. Do you know that the price of petrol, the increase in the price of petrol is actually a tax? So they are collecting tax from you there. You were paying 195 before, now you are paying 617. Meanwhile, there are no new jobs. So Tinubu is taxing you without creating jobs, without creating wealth. They said they have spent 36 billion or 72 billion on subsidy for electricity. And that they should remove that subsidy too, which means that you pay more for electricity. When you're paying more for electricity, you know, I gave the analysis yesterday. 1,000 Naira would buy 300 credit units in 2015. Now, 1,000 Naira can only buy 16 credit units of electricity credit. And they are still talking about removing the subsidy in the electricity regime, which means they are taxing you. Meanwhile, they have not created any new jobs. The Agberos, if you walk around Abuja now, the Agberos have taken over. Whether it is the outdoor advertisement, whether it is AMAC, they have recruited thugs. You see these people, you know these people are criminals. They are smoking, they are drinking alcohol, even while on official duty. They are dressed like armed robbers, behaving like touts in the name of revenue collection. Revenue collection. And they do all manner of things to car owners. Once you have a brand new car, you are in trouble. They will harass you. In fact, while they are harassing you, they have screwdrivers in their pocket. They are loosening your plate number. And many cases, they even seize it in the name of revenue collection, tax. Meanwhile, what new job opportunities have they created? None. Even the monies that are supposed to create the business opportunities at the CBN through the YEDP, the SMEIS, the Agri Credit Scheme, those monies that are supposed to be used to spur up entrepreneurship and create businesses that would employ people so that they can pay tax, even those ones, they are stealing those funds from the reports we are getting. Those monies are not even going to create the business opportunities. So you see that this whole tax reform thing that Tinubu is doing, it is to punish Nigerians. Because all of his policies are not creating new job opportunities. It is going to empower only his close friends. And the majority of Nigerians will suffer. Let me read something to you about the Niger coup. Now, the Niger coup, France releases criminals to engage in counter coup. Is this their divide and conquer tactics? What Africans must realize about the US-led West who caused the coup. Now, everything still boils down to these 5 laws that we must enact. And I'm calling on senators, lawmakers like Ireti Kinjebe, Charles Nwokocha, I don't know, the Labour Party lawmakers. They should key into this and create these laws, draft these laws. If they want, we can support. We are drafting the laws. We can pass it to them and they can push it. We will be behind. If we need to make noise about it, we'll make noise about it. These are the things that we need to do. Because if we continue to talk, these people, they understand also. We will talk, and they will know we'll get tired of talking. So, let's do this. But first, before we do that, remember I said that the IMF and the World Bank and the World Trade Organization, the Bretton Woods institutions, are responsible for the problems of Africans, the problems of Nigeria. Well, let's look at how they are involved in Niger. Remember also that their tactics is to divide and conquer. Now, because, for those of you who do not know, because the US failed in their coup attempt, I say the US failed because it was the US that trained these soldiers. They trained them on how to do coup. They trained them up and probably mind controlled them on how to do coup. And the whole essence of it, many don't realize it, is that there is a friction between the US and France. The US is trying to kick out France from Africa so that the resources that France is sitting on in those francophone African countries, US can gain access to them. For those of you who don't know, the United States of America gets 50% of their uranium for their nuclear electricity. They get it from Russia. And of course, you know that on the surface, in the open, there is a fracas, there is disagreement, there is Cold War between US and Russia. But behind the scene, US still buys uranium from Russia. Oh, this is funny. And so, while the US is depending on Russia for 50% of their uranium, France is getting cheap uranium, almost free uranium from Niger and other countries in West and all of Africa. So America, like they have always done, like they did during the era of colonization, is now training soldiers in those francophone countries. They trained the coup leaders in Guinea. America trained the coup leaders in Burkina Faso. America trained the coup leaders in Mali. They also trained the coup leaders in Niger. But they miscalculated. They trained these soldiers to take over power, to kick out France, in the hopes that when these coup leaders kicked out France, they will now come in and gain access to the raw materials, gain access to the uranium in Niger. But they miscalculated because these soldiers, I think they got smart and they realized that they are only safe with Russia. They are only safe. Their security can only be guaranteed with Russia. That US trained them to engage in that coup is enough reason for them to be afraid, because the US will use the Bretton Woods institution to cage them. So after taking the training from the US and after engaging in the coup and succeeding based on the training they received from the US, rather than remain and be a puppet of the US, they now ran to Russia, and also now they are kicking out the US. So instead of gaining access to the uranium that the US was eyeing in Niger, what is happening now is the same Russia they are trying to create alternative for their uranium. The same Russia is now in charge of the uranium in Niger through the Wagner Group, through the coup leaders that the US trained. That is paining them. And that is why their Deputy Secretary of State is trying to meet them, to discuss with them and telling them, oh, we are freezing $100 million of aid. Africa does not need your aid. Your aid is to create corruption. We don't want your corruption. Leave Africa alone. If you want uranium, give us money properly. Buy the uranium properly. Stop causing wars for us. Many of you don't know that all the conflicts in Africa, whether it's insurgency, terrorism, the coup, all of it, they are with the help of the US-led West. They are with the help of the US-led West. So if you take away America out of it, you take away the weapons they manufacture, because does Boko Haram manufacture any guns? People say that Boko Haram or ISIS or ISWAP is more equipped than even the Nigerian military. That's what they say. I know it's not true, or probably it is true. But then again, if these terrorists are so well equipped, do they manufacture the weapons? Somebody sells the weapons to them. And with the control that the US-led West and Russia and China have on their weapons, if they really control the destinations of their weapons, there'll be no weapons for ISWAP to use. And in fact, let's even also put this out there. Even these terrorists are US trained. Or if they're not US trained directly, they are trained by people who were trained by US. That's it. Because if you talk about the Taliban, you talk about Iran, you talk about all of those people were former allies or former soldiers that the US trained at one point or the other. So now, what they thought they could use to push France out and gain access to the uranium of Niger has come to bite them now, and they are saying that Russia is taking advantage of it. Of course, it's not that Russia is taking advantage of it. The Niger coup plotter, and indeed all the coup plotters in West Africa, they got smart. They realized that you cannot really leave your safety and your security in the hands of the US-led West. And that's why they ran to Russia. So I guess a win-win situation for them. So Africans, those ones that the French leadership or France is releasing, those criminals that are Africans, please, I want to beg you, don't let these Western powers use you to fight your own people. It's divide and conquer. Don't give in to their demand. Don't give in to their false freedom. They didn't release you since. If the coup plotters trained by America has not gone to engage in that coup and now turned their back on America, they wouldn't have released you. So now that they have released you, use your freedom well. Don't use your freedom to fight your fellow brothers. Because what they want is for you to destroy yourselves. They will even sell you weapons to destroy yourselves. That's how US miscalculated in Niger. Oh, that's how US miscalculated in Niger. Now, there are other questions we'll ask, but I will just break this video right now because I need to do some other things. I'll just break the video. We'll continue the video from the 6th point, which is who is worse, state governors or the president of Nigeria. And then we'll talk a lot more about this whole sit-at-home thing. And then we'll talk about the permanent cure for these doctors and ASU strike. Those 3 things, we'll talk about them. I'll see you. I'll do the video today, but I need to quickly attend to something. The call I got earlier was about something I needed to quickly attend to. So I'll attend to it, and once I create another time, maybe 1 hour or so, we'll talk about all of this. We need to talk about it. This is what we need to talk about. Things that will bring solutions. And of course, remember I said that it starts with creating those laws. So look in the description and join, be a volunteer, and support us. Remember, we're working with the Royal Purple Bee Foundation. It's an NGO, and we need resources, we need funds to do this thing. We need funds. So whatever you can do to support us, please check the description and support. If you want to volunteer, you want to support us financially, please do that. I'll see you shortly. We'll take back our country by the grace of God.